Hello, and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast Travel Edition. So, if you are watching on YouTube, obviously I do not have my camera turned on because I am currently road tripping right now. It is February 2nd, 2024, and I am currently driving out to San Diego for a private comedy show, which I am excited about and, a little apprehensive. Private comedy shows are a very interesting beast for those of you who have never had the honor. So, the thing with private comedy shows is you never know what you're gonna get. It's a box of chocolates like Forrest Gump. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. So, I'll start with the positive side, which is usually when you're doing a private show, it's more of a niched audience. So, you have a little bit more, there's usually something homogenous about what's going on with this group. Either, they all work for the same company, they're all part of a certain organization, they're all part of a certain group of people, an organization, a cause. In the case tonight, it's a private birthday party, right? So it's going to be this couple and their group of friends. So all of these people know each other. They're probably in similar socioeconomic statuses, probably in the same types of professions, if not the same profession, sort of the same types of profession. So that can be really good because if you can tap into whatever that niche is, then it can really pop. Like, it's usually a lot more fun than if, most stand-up audiences, they're a lot more diverse. So, they can be from a wide variety of socioeconomic backgrounds, professions, relationship status, ages, races, so, trying to entertain an audience of, multiple diversities can really be challenging to make it's like your comedy has to be like ubiquitously funny across like multiple variants, which, I think ultimately every comic would want that, would prefer that. I know I do. I would love it if every sort of type of comedic bit I did was universally funny to everybody. I definitely strive for that, but it's obviously not always the case. So that's the plus side, is you know that you're going to have more of a homogenized, is that the word, audience. The flip side is that exact same reason. So you could have a homogenous audience and that particular demographic does not resonate with you at all. So then you're really screwed because obviously you're not going to be able to get anybody in that particular group of people to laugh at you or to be on board with you. And then that can be a very painful, awkward experience. So, yeah, and you just never know. You never know what you're walking into. So tonight's show, again, it's a private birthday party. It's this wife who wants to throw a stand-up comedy show for her husband. And it's just going to be them and a group of their friends. And it's going to be a house party. And who knows? Who knows? She seemed really cool on the phone. And, is really excited to have me. Obviously, she wants comedy. I talked to her about all of the variables that can be controlled to give the show itself the highest probability of success. And there is a lot to be said for just even those dynamics, is just making sure that the comedy portion of the evening is set up to have the highest potential of of success possible, regardless of who the comedian is. So no matter how good of a comedian you are, if the show is not set up properly, there's always it can just make the show more difficult for the comedian, no matter who they are or how funny they are or how much they are or are not a fit for that particular demographic. So that is the situation that I am voluntarily entering into tonight out here in San Diego. So those of you following the podcast would know that on New Year's Eve, I had another private comedy show in San Diego, which ended up being one of the worst shows of my entire comedy career. Not exaggerating. It's definitely probably top 3 to 5. Probably the top 3. I'm going to put it in the top 3 across all performances. In terms of stand-up performances, probably maybe the top, definitely the top 2 or 3. Which, is really saying something because the truth of the matter is most comedy shows go well, more or less. It's not like every comedy show is the greatest show ever, but you do this long enough, you do enough shows, you know how to show up, deliver some jokes, make people laugh, and you go home. No fuss, no muss. Maybe you're the best, maybe you're not the funniest comedian on the bill, but it's not like you're bombing. The audience is laughing. Maybe you're not the funniest comic they've ever seen, but they're laughing. You know what you're doing. You know how to make them laugh. It's pretty rare at all to even really have a bad show. It's like normally a bad show just means, maybe I wasn't really hitting tonight, but it's actually pretty rare to have like an all-out disaster bombing. Audience is not having it. They don't like you. You can't get them to laugh to save your life. I mean, that's a bad show. And I've had a couple of those in my comedy career. They're, again, usually sort of unique private shows, rare circumstances that just did not work out. It did not go my way. And it just so happens that the most recent one of those was about a month ago in San Diego. I talked all about it in previous podcasts. I even posted a clip of the comedy set, which was the first time that I ever intentionally post a comedy clip of me absolutely bombing, because I thought that would be interesting for the audience to see of, comedy when it doesn't go well. So I'm excited to be back in San Diego with another private gig and hopefully, hopefully have a little bit of redemption. So I am trying to think of another abysmal show that I've had that I can share. So the last show I had in San Diego about a month ago, probably the worst. So I'm, again, glad to have some redemption there. Probably the next worst show, it was in second place. It wasn't as bad as the San Diego show, but it was pretty close. So I got booked to do stand-up comedy, and it was for this high school, I think it was their prom, and this was on the tail end of the pandemic, so they didn't have a dance, because evidently, that was against COVID, but they did have a gigantic fancy dinner at, some hotel, like in their main ballroom. So they had all of the tables set up and all of that. And so, yeah, I was about to do stand-up, and so here's all these kids dressed in their tuxedos and evening gowns. It's, their senior prom, last year of high school, all of that stuff. And then I show up as part of the evening's entertainment. And I get up there, and I'm just hoping that like my sort of normal stand-up routine would be funny, that it was funny enough. And oh my gosh, it was brutal. I mean, it was swing and a miss, left and right. They were not buying anything I was selling. And I felt so bad for the kids because I'm going, oh, man, I wouldn't want to be in your guys' situation. You're here all dressed up. This is your senior year. And, you want to flirt with your date and you want to interact with the people at your table. And then all of a sudden, some dude, who's over twice your age, who you've never heard of, and who can't relate to you at all, you're from totally different generations, is up there throwing jokes at you. And to their credit, they were as respectful as they could be. Nobody booed me. Nobody, they didn't start, talking amongst themselves. So they they were as respectful as they could be. They just didn't find me funny at all. And I totally understand why they didn't. I'm just not at all, they're a cup of tea. And so I did as much time as I could. It was brutal. And finally, I just was like, all right, I need to end this. And oof. So that one was pretty brutal. So again, that's what I'm talking about though, right? It's these private shows, they're so niche, right? It's like, here is a very homogenous group audience. I mean, more so than any normal audience. It's like everybody in this audience is like 16 to 18 years old. They're all high schoolers. They all go to this same high school. They all live in this same area. And, they're all at their prom. They're all graduating, right? So there's all of these very specific nuances that make this group of people, this particular audience, far more, I keep saying homogenized, and now I'm doubting if that's actually the word that I mean. Homogenous, doesn't that mean like all similar stuff? But then I'm thinking about how milk is homogenized, and I'm going, I don't actually know what that means. So, really doubting my vocabulary here. But anyway, again, the kids were very sweet. They were very respectful. It just wasn't funny. It just wasn't entertaining to them. And now that is a situation where I think the right comedian could have done a good job. I think there are plenty of comedians. I think, somebody like younger, if they would have, found maybe like a young comic who's maybe like cool touring the college circuit, like a funny guitar comic, who's maybe 23, 24, 25, like much closer to their age. I don't think that, I think that show was set up as best as it could be. I talk a lot about how, there's the things out of my control and then there's the things in my control. it was actually set up fairly decently. They had a sound system, they had a microphone. All of the kids had just gotten done eating dinner. They weren't eating dinner during my act. And it was like, hey, everybody, we have entertainment for you. And the kids were focused. Like, they were like, oh, cool, entertainment. I just happened to not be entertaining. I was the wrong entertainment for them. I just had no material that resonated with them. But I think another comic could have had success, and maybe even had really good success. I think the kids would have enjoyed the right comedian. So, and I just say that because I tried to be very honest about if the show isn't going well. Again, I've talked about this in previous podcasts, but just because the show isn't going well, a lot of times comedians will immediately blame the audience. Oh, you guys don't want to laugh or whatever. And I've said this before. I'm like, most of the time, in my opinion, the majority of the time, if the audience isn't laughing, it's because the comic isn't funny, at least to that audience. Now, maybe that comic is funny in other situations. That's surely the case with me. I had done plenty of shows with that material that had gotten plenty of laughs. But in that scenario, I was not funny. Now, there are other scenarios where it's like, no, I am funny, and the show was really set up poorly. And that was definitely the case with the San Diego gig that I did a month ago. I don't think any comic could have been successful in that environment. I'll put it this way. I think there is a far fewer amount of comedians who could have even potentially been funny in that circumstance. The high school gig, I think there are actually quite a few, not quite a few, but a good handful of comics who could have potentially made that that prom situation fun for the kids. But anyway, that's sort of my point there, is these private gigs when they hit, they seem to hit harder than maybe, regular shows like in a club. But man, when they don't hit, it can go downhill so fast. And it's like, tonight I'm literally going to be in this family's living room with 30 people. And I am the entertainment. And so I have got to be funny and connect with these 30 people. And I'm the only one. I don't have an opening act. I don't have anybody coming to rescue me. It's like, if I'm not up there and if I don't make a laugh, then it's a failed evening. So there is quite a bit of pressure. Ironically enough, I just remember this. When I first started doing stand-up comedy in 2014, I actually got booked on a private show that was very similar to this. Again, literally a house party, and it was in somebody's living room. And it was the owners of this local business in Arizona, and they were having like their holiday Christmas party thing. And they knew me somehow. Maybe they had seen me at Jesters or something, that improv troupe that I perform at. But they called me up to do stand-up. I was the only one. And so I showed up, and there's this small company, and it was really small. I mean, there was maybe 10 people there, just all sitting in their sort of front room where they actually had a piano. And I just went in there and did whatever stand-up material I had. I was brand new to stand-up, so I didn't have a lot of material. And I did that. And then there was, with that piano, I did my signature bit where I interviewed somebody there and then improvised a song about them. So, and that was great. That was super fun. So I'm hoping that will be the vibe tonight. Just a group of fun people. They all know each other. They're having a party. It's the husband's birthday of the husband of the woman who booked me. I have my piano here. I'm going to show up and give them a show. So we'll see how it goes. All right, everybody. So that's going to be all for me, the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast Travel Edition. I've never tried to do this while driving, so if you are watching this on YouTube, that's why there's not a video. I just put up a graphic, and I figure, anybody watching this on YouTube is probably not paying that close attention to the video anyway. So thank you all so much for listening. I love you all so much. I hope you are finding joy in your journey, following your dreams, navigating all the fun ups and downs and strange nuances and failures and successes that come along with going for your dream. And I support you. I support you in your endeavors. Don't know why I became a Kennedy right there. All right, everybody. This is February 2nd, 2024, episode... what is this? Episode... is it 65? I used to know off the top of my head. I think it's episode 65. Don't quote me on that. All right, everybody. I love you. We'll talk to you soon.